Michael, I was impressed to hear you on ABC radio not long ago. You were there talking about a school that had taken a position on children and iPad education very early on. And you had some very important points to make. I'd love you to share a little bit with us now.
Well, I think fundamentally one of the things that concerned me most was this notion, and we see it increasingly so, that somehow technology is a panacea for learning. And it's being pushed more and more to lower and lower grades, so younger and younger children are being asked to engage with technology. And the fundamental concern I have with that is it probably takes them away from things that we have known for generations that are so powerful to their learning and development. So when children are engaged in a screen environment, they're not engaged with the real world. And we have decades of research that tell us that for all aspects of development, from cognition to emotion to social development to language to physical development, we know that kids learn best and develop best when they're engaged in play and exploration. And at the early ages, that's fundamental. And so somehow this notion that we're going to give prep kids, essentially 4-year-olds, iPads, and somehow that's going to enhance their learning, to me is highly problematic and deserves scrutiny.
I think it deserves scrutiny as well. I'm a remedial movement therapist, and I completely relate to what you're saying. Children need a 3-dimensional and maybe a 4-dimensional world to experience so they can engage with it and develop their social skills and their integration skills as well.
Well, there's that, and again, we talk about using data to support what we do and using evidence. And I always find it fascinating how the powers that be, so to speak, or bureaucracies can cherry pick data and leave some important studies out. And one of the ones I think is fundamental in this conversation about technology and education is that which was published by the OECD in 2015. The same organization that does the PISA tests, internationally looking at literacy, numeracy, mathematical competencies in 15-year-olds. Well, they published a report 2 years ago, a 200-page document, Computers in Education, ostensibly identifying that to date, at that point in time, the use of computers in school had shown no marked improvement in learning outcomes across 28 OECD countries. And they actually discussed the fact that the schools that use computers the least did the best in their PISA findings. Now, no one seems to talk about that, and I'm intrigued by that. The Director of Education for the OECD actually comes out and says, for all intents and purposes, computers have not been the learning device that people think they have. He's quick to point out, and I think this is one of the things, that the problem isn't technology per se, is that we truly don't understand how to use it most advantageously to enhance students' learning, to use it as a learning tool. And too often it becomes something that is thrust upon teachers and children because they're going to place something online, or they're going to do something online. Somehow that's going to edutain them. And I think that's highly problematic. And there are a number of studies that tell us that much of what's online and much of what's available and badged as learning tools or educative devices really doesn't amount to any real substantive education at all.
I've heard this as well, that some schools are being honest now about this experiment with technology. The headmaster of a substantial school in New South Wales has come out in public and said it's just been a wasted experiment, and he's actually said that we need to get back to this real engagement with human beings. He says computers have been the biggest waste of time in learning in schools, full stop.
Well, I think that's an interesting comment, and again, anecdotally, but also the research I've read suggests that a lot of things we've done historically are good practice.
Mm-hmm.
People often forget the very fact that we can use an iPad, or we can record things on a device, or we can hold a computer in our hand, is the product of an education system that didn't have those devices. So when children, when Bill Gates was a child, he wasn't learning how to be the expert he is in this field by holding an iPad. He was engaged in the world around him. He was talking to people, engaging with the world, play, and all these very things that we seem to be taking away. For whatever reason, play has become a pejorative. Play has become a bad word, because if you're playing, you're not doing the important stuff.
Yes.
And sadly, that's just a complete misunderstanding of the importance of play.
And interesting too, you mentioned Bill Gates there, but Steve Jobs kept his children right away from iPads.
Yeah, and I think people should look at that and say, well, why is that?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not a Luddite. I'm not anti-technology. My room has technology. I do have an iPhone. My kids use it. But I think when we're starting to talk about what we do with children to enhance their learning, or somehow, hyper-stimulate to development in some way, shape, or form, we should look at what the evidence tells us. And to date, I'm yet to be convinced that putting technology in the palms of children is a good measure of how to enhance their educational outcomes or any aspect of development.